Today, I'm actually going to read from Srila Prabhupada's Sri Upanishad. I'm going to read the first mantra, number 1.
Invocation or mantra 1?
Mantra 1.
Okay.
Ishavashamidam sarvam
Ishavashamidam sarvam
Yatkincha jagatyam jagat
Yatkincha jagatyam jagat
Tena tyaktena punjita
Tena taktena punjita
Magrida kashasi patanam
Magrida kasya siddhanam
Isha,
Isha,
by the Lord.
by the Lord.
Avasham,
Abhasham,
control.
control.
Idam,
Idam,
this.
this.
Sarvam,
Sarvam,
all.
all.
Yatkincha,
Yatkincha,
whatever.
whatever.
Jagatyam,
Jagatyam,
within the universe.
within the universe.
Jagat,
Jagat,
all that is animate or inanimate.
all that is animate or inanimate.
Tena,
Tena,
by him.
by him.
Tyaktena,
Tyaktena,
set apart. Quota.
set apart quota.
Bunjita,
Bunjita,
you should accept.
you should accept.
Ma,
Ma,
do not.
do not.
Grida,
Grida,
endeavor to gain.
endeavor to gain.
Kashasvit,
Kasha slit
of anyone else.
of anyone else.
Dhanam,
Dhanam,
the wealth.
the wealth.
Translation. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota. And one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. I say, may you please repeat. Everything animate or inanimate.
Everything animate or inanimate
That is within the universe.
that is within the universe
Is controlled and owned by the Lord.
is controlled and owned by the Lord.
One should therefore
One should therefore
accept only those things
accept only those things
necessary for himself,
necessary for himself,
which are set aside as his quota.
which is set aside as his quota.
And one should not accept other things,
And one should not accept other things,
knowing well to whom they belong.
knowing well to whom they belong.
It's rather long for a book by Srila Prabhupada. It's full of nectar, so please do your best to try to hear. Vedic knowledge is infallible because it comes down through the perfect disciplic succession of spiritual masters, beginning with the Lord himself. Since he spoke the first word of Vedic knowledge, the source of this knowledge is transcendental. The words spoken by the Lord are called aparushaya, which indicates that they are not delivered by any mundane person. A living being who lives in the mundane world has 4 defects. 1, he is certain to commit mistakes. 2, he is subject to illusion. 3, he has a propensity to cheat others. And 4, his senses are imperfect. No one with these 4 imperfections can deliver perfect knowledge. The Vedas are not produced by such an imperfect creature. Vedic knowledge was originally imparted by the Lord into the heart of Brahma, the first created living being. And Brahma, in his turn, disseminated this knowledge to his sons and disciples, who have handed it down through history. Since the Lord is Purnam, all perfect, there is no possibility of his being subjected to the laws of material nature, which he controls. However, both the living entities and inanimate objects are controlled by the laws of nature and ultimately by the Lord's potency. This Ishopanishad is part of the Yajur Veda, and consequently, it contains information concerning the proprietorship of all things existing within the universe. The Lord's proprietorship over everything within the universe is confirmed in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 4 and 5, where para and apara prakriti are discussed. The elements of nature, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego, all belong to the Lord's inferior material energy, apara prakriti, whereas the living being, the organic energy, is his superior energy, para prakriti. Both of these properties or energies are emanations from the Lord, and ultimately he is the controller of everything that exists. There is nothing in the universe that does not belong to either the para or the apara prakriti. Therefore, everything is the property of the Supreme Being. Because the Supreme Being, the absolute personality of Godhead, is the complete person, he has complete and perfect intelligence to adjust everything by means of his different potencies. The Supreme Being is often compared to a fire, and every organic and inorganic is compared to the heat and light of that fire. Just as fire distributes energy in the form of heat and light, the Lord displays his energy in different ways. He thus remains the ultimate controller, sustainer, and dictator of everything. He is the possessor of all potencies, the knower of everything, and the benefactor of everyone. He is full of inconceivable opulence, power, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that except for the Lord, no one is a proprietor of anything. One should accept only those things that are set aside by the Lord as his quota. The cow, for instance, gives milk, but she does not drink that milk. She eats grass and straw, and her milk is designated as food for human beings. Such is the arrangement of the Lord. Thus we should be satisfied with those things he has kindly set aside for us, and we should always consider to whom those things we possess actually belong. Take, for example, our dwelling, which is made of earth, wood, stone, iron, cement, and so many other material things. If we think in terms of Sri Ishopanishad, we must know that we cannot produce any of these building materials ourselves. We can simply bring them together and transform them into different shapes by our labor. A laborer cannot claim to be a proprietor of a thing just because he has worked hard to manufacture it. In modern society, there is always a great quarrel between the laborers and the capitalists. This quarrel has taken an international shape, and the world is in danger. Men face one another in enmity and snarl just like cats and dogs. Sri Ishopanishad cannot give advice to the cats and dogs, but it can deliver the message of Godhead to man through the bona fide acharyas, holy teachers. The human race should take the Vedic wisdom of Sri Ishopanishad and not quarrel over material possessions. One must be satisfied with whatever privileges are given to him by the mercy of the Lord. There can be no peace if the communists or capitalists or any other party claims proprietorship over the resources of nature, which are entirely the property of the Lord. The capitalists cannot curb the communists simply by political maneuvering, nor can the communists defeat the capitalists simply by fighting for stolen bread. If they do not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the property they claim to be their own is stolen. Consequently, they will be liable to punishment by the laws of nature. Nuclear bombs are in the hands of both communists and capitalists, and that both do not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Lord. It is certain that these bombs will ultimately ruin both parties. Thus, in order to save themselves and bring peace to the world, both parties must follow the instructions of Sri Ishopanishad. Human beings are not meant to quarrel like cats and dogs. They must be intelligent enough to realize the importance and aim of human life. The Vedic literature is meant for humanity and not for cats and dogs. Cats and dogs can kill other animals for food without incurring sin. But if a man kills an animal for the satisfaction of his uncontrolled taste buds, he is responsible for breaking the laws of nature. Consequently, he must be punished. The standard of life for human beings cannot be applied to animals. The tiger does not eat rice and wheat or drink cow's milk, because he has been given food in the shape of animal flesh. Among the many animals and birds, some are vegetarian and others are carnivorous, but none of them transgress the laws of nature, which have been ordained by the will of the Lord. Animals, birds, reptiles, and other lower life forms strictly adhere to the laws of nature. Therefore, there is no question of sin for them, nor are the Vedic instructions meant for them. Human life alone is a life of responsibility. It is wrong, however, to think that simply by becoming a vegetarian, one can avoid transgressing the laws of nature. Vegetables also have life. And while it is nature's law that one living being is meant to feed on another, for human beings, the point is to recognize the Supreme Lord. Thus, one should not be proud of being a strict vegetarian. Animals do not have developed consciousness by which to recognize the Lord, but a human being is sufficiently intelligent to take lessons from the Vedic literature and thereby know how the laws of nature are working and derive profit out of such knowledge. If a man neglects the instructions of the Vedic literature, his life becomes very risky. A human being is therefore required to recognize the authority of the Supreme Lord and become his devotee. He must offer everything for the Lord's service and partake only of the remnants of food offered to the Lord. This will enable him to discharge his duty properly. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 26, the Lord directly states that he accepts vegetarian food from the hands of a pure devotee. Therefore, a human being should not only become a strict vegetarian, but should also become a devotee of the Lord. Offer the Lord all his food, and then partake of such prasad, for the mercy of the Lord, of God. Only those who act in this way can properly discharge the duties of human life. Those who do not offer their food to the Lord eat nothing but sin and subject themselves to various types of distress, which are the results of sin. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, text 13. The root of sin is deliberate disobedience of the laws of nature through disregarding the proprietorship of the Lord. Disobeying the laws of nature or the order of the Lord brings ruin to the human being. Conversely, one who is sober, who knows the laws of nature, and who is not influenced by unnecessary attachment or aversion is sure to be recognized by the Lord and thus become eligible to go back to Godhead, back to the eternal home. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota. And one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Is there a Bhagavad Gita here? Can you grab a Bhagavad Gita?
Is there one right under the podium?
No, I checked. No, this is deep, very, oh, thank you. Very good. Just want to read everyone the purport. Just a simple point. Right now, I'm sure most devotees are aware, because I travel so much, for instance, I was just in a town called Santa Fe, New Mexico, where they have Albuquerque, New Mexico. They have some vegetarian restaurants. Just like I was a few years ago in Europe, and within, I would say, 6 blocks walk of where I was staying, there was at least 6 vegetarian restaurants. But
What country?
Czech Republic. But this, as Srila Prabhupada says in this purport, it's not enough to be vegetarian. We, as devotees, realize more so, and this is our duty to inform society, actually. It's nice that more and more people are becoming vegetarian or conscious, that to kill animals is not a good thing. And it's very nice also that a lot of individuals becoming vegan or wanting to so-called, a lot of them for health reasons or for, you could say, some spiritual reasons, they're taken to this diet of not eating animal flesh and to the extent of the cow's milk, but that's not enough. And it is our duty as Vaishnavas, as Prabhupada explained to us, his ISKCON movement was training the Brahminical class. The Brahminical class disseminates knowledge to the rest of society. So, whereas it's very nice to see vegetarian restaurants expanding, vegan restaurants expanding, it's better if they have the knowledge why this diet that they're trying to adhere to is significant. Not only for the health of the human body, which will in a few short years be gone, but the real point is that, as Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, he says, the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. Why is that? It goes back to what Srila Prabhupada just explained to us in the Sri Upanishad. God owns everything. He's the supreme proprietor. So it is only natural if you own something and I come to you and I say, can I please borrow this or use this? And you say, sure, here you go. But I don't even thank you. I don't even show any appreciation. How do you feel? Isn't it normal to show gratitude to someone who helps you? And then Srila Prabhupada is trying to show us God is constantly helping us. He's giving you everything. He's giving you your food. He says, just like your dwelling, your house. You think, oh, I built this house. How did you build it? What did you use? And he states these things, that you used earth, you used whatever materials. Where did that come from? Did you create it? No. God created it. So these things, for a devotee, they're common sense. Why? Because we've been fortunate enough to be given this knowledge through Srila Prabhupada, and we're practicing this process of bhakti yoga, which he has given us. And by the mercy of the spiritual master, by the mercy of Krishna, little by little we're coming to understand these things. But it is our duty to give this knowledge to others, to enlighten them that it's wonderful you become vegetarian, but try to inform them. Try to get them eventually, but offer your food to God. Before you eat it, say a prayer at least. Thank God for this food. If nothing else, just say thank you, God, for providing this food for me. Because without showing that gratitude, Krishna says you eat only sin. Why? It's because you're trying to enjoy without acknowledging who it's come from. It's not difficult. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada said, the devotees of the Supreme Lord are the persons who are in Krishna consciousness are called santas, and they are always in love with the Lord, as it is described in the Brahma Samhita. Premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena santa sadaiva udayeshu vilokayanti. The santas, being always in a compact of love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, the giver of all pleasures, or Mukunda, the giver of liberation, or Krishna, the all-attractive person, cannot accept anything without first offering it to the Supreme Person. Therefore, such devotees always perform yajnas in different modes of devotional service, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Archanam, etc. And these performances of yagas keep them always aloof from all kinds of contamination of sinful association in the material world. Others who prepare food for self or sense gratification are not only thieves, but also the eaters of all kinds of sins. How can a person be happy if he is both a thief and sinful? It is not possible. Therefore, in order for people to become happy in all respects, they must be taught to perform the easy process of Sankirtan Jaga in full Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, there can be no peace or happiness in the world. And also in Upanishad, Srila Prabhupada was elaborating on the capitalists and communists all having nuclear weapons pointed at each other. And this can actually be the ruination of both parties, he says. So, our behavior, the behavior of Vaishnavas is of utmost importance. How we behave, how we interact with others is, we should definitely follow in the footsteps of the Acharyas and disseminate this knowledge. But we have to always be in mind that the peace formula is us constantly meditating on how Krishna is the supreme proprietor. He's the supreme enjoyer, and he's the supreme friend. So, Srila Prabhupada taught us to obey God's laws. That's the key to, if you want to be a spiritual person, it's like right now there's often in society the talk, well, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. What does that mean? What does it mean to be truly spiritual? It means, it's just like if you're a good citizen, you abide by the laws of the state or the country that you live in. Similarly, if you want to be a good human being, you have to abide by the laws of God. And Srila Prabhupada would give a simple example. If the law is drive on the left side of the road, you can't drive on the right side of the road. You have to drive on the left. And if the country you live in, the law is you drive on the right side of the road, then you have to drive on the right. Simple example to follow. And by doing that, you're a good citizen. So we have to understand God's laws. This simple thing of offering your food to God, that's God's law. Simple thing. Otherwise, you're trying to enjoy without being gracious to God. So we take this for granted, devotees. We always offer our foodstuffs to the Lord. We take it for granted, but it's not common knowledge. The vegetarian restaurants around the world, they don't know this. So it's good at least they're not killing animals, but they've taken one step. And then the devotee realizes not only does he offer the food, but with what? Love and devotion. Exactly. There's a nice story Vedanta-krt Prabhu said, which exemplifies how when someone is truly has the mood of love, of servitude. One time, this was in India, Srila Prabhupada was, he was not feeling so well. So actually, Mother Yamuna had been cooking for him. And most older Vaishnavas know what a wonderful relationship Mother Yamuna had with Srila Prabhupada. There's this story how Mother Yamuna told Prabhupada he had hand signals for her. She was an incredible cook, an amazing cook. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada would go like this, meant that it was satisfying. Then he would go like this, it was first class or something. Then sometimes he would go like this, which meant it was, outstanding. So he had these hand signals with her, which kind of showed her cooking. But she was just an amazing cook and such an amazing disciple of Srila Prabhupada. So anyway, she was cooking for Srila Prabhupada, but Srila Prabhupada served Srila Kirti. The bell rang, so he went in and he told Srila Kirti, he said, I want upma today. And his Srila Kirti said, okay, Prabhupada, I'll go tell Mother Yamuna. He says, no, he says, I like your upma. I want you to cook. So Srila Kirti was kind of surprised, but, at the same time, he felt, of course, this is what Srila Prabhupada wants, I got to go cook upma for him. So he goes into the kitchen, and he tells Mother Yamuna, he says, Srila Prabhupada wants upma today. And she said, okay, I'll get it ready for him. He says, no, he said, he wants me to cook it. And so you would think, someone who had been serving Srila Prabhupada and so on, right away maybe her false ego would take over. That, why do they want me to cook it? I mean, like my cooking? You would think that maybe she would react like that. Her reaction was, what can I do to help you? That was her reaction. How can I help you? What can I do to help you? So there was a reaction of no false ego, just how can we please our Guru together? So this, in learning this science, it's a deep, there's so much deepness in it. It's not just artificial, it's just not on the surface. And the more one practices, the more one sincerely tries to do things with love and devotion, this is a type of behavior that manifests. As an example of Mother Yamuna, her behavior was, of course, this is what Srila Prabhupada wants. It wasn't like, she was upset or anything. This is what Prabhupada wants. Let me help you. How can I help serve you to please him? So this simple process, it is simple, but it's so deep. And the more we apply the process, the deeper realizations we'll get. Realization comes from the mercy of Krishna. It's not something, Srila Prabhupada has explained to us, it's not something that will come from austerities, from this or that. It comes from our sincerity and our, by Krishna seeing how sincere we are. Krishna doesn't have to give us anything. He's self-sufficient, but he wants to give us. Krishna wants to reciprocate and give us more and more exchanges of love with him. So the process is there. It's just a matter of us truly applying it sincerely and following in the footsteps. And Sangha is so important. The association is so important that through associating, faith is there. Faith must be there initially. Faith must be there. But then there's Sangha, association. Through strong faith, we'll get the association of the pure devotees. And then by their association, more and more will delve into the unending bliss of rendering service to the Supreme Person. So there's so much that Srila Prabhupada has given us in his books, and we will learn to appreciate his books more and more through sincerely associating with each other in a loving way. So at this point, I'd like to stop, and it's, well, the clock says it's 1:15. So if there's any comments, questions, realizations. Yes, Vega.
So I have a question. If, like, I'm under the assumption that because there's one God, so despite what, like, people think, they're praying to, like, their God. So if somebody's Christian and they pray to God and thank them for their meal before they eat, does that count?
Who'd like to answer?
Doesn't hurt.
It's like being vegetarian. It's a step in the right direction of acknowledging that this is God. So the Lord is pleased. At least we have that.
Exactly. Okay. That's what I thought,
That's
but I
okay.
wanted to see. Because they don't have the knowledge that pertains to Krishna consciousness. But they're still thanking God.
Yes.
And even though they think it's a different God, it's the same God. So I would have thought that it would count, but I just wanted to make sure.
In my family, my mother was very strict about saying we were Catholic, and you had to say grace
Yes.
before every meal.
Mm.
Now, I can't remember what it was, but it was important at this moment, but I should. But Mom, I still remember. Thank you. And that was actually for me that was an easy, one of the easier stepping off points to explain the similarities rather than the differences. You know what I mean? That, see, we offer the food, we say prayers over the food before we eat it. And just like you had to say grace.
Mm-hmm.
She saw, oh, there's some, I can understand that. You know?
Yes, Madhava.
In the Gita, Krishna says that if one offers worship to any of the devatas and gets the results, they get the results, but they don't realize that the results are coming from him. Well, in the same way, if one offers gratitude to some other understanding of God, they get some results, and they get the result, but they don't understand it. It's actually coming from Krishna.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, realizations?
I think I remember the food prayer. Bless us, O Lord, for these are gifts of our master's bounty of
Through Christ our Lord.
Yeah.
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 What
I
was
was
that?
just testing to see if you
That's
were-
the Lord's Prayer.
Oh, that
The
was.
Christians offer. Yeah.
How do you say it?
Bless us, O Lord, for these thy gifts which we are about to receive through thy bounty. Through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Yeah.
It's like I had association for many years, past 16 years, with this one gentleman who I did a lot of business with, and whenever we would travel, whatever, we would he would say, "Okay, Vic, let's hold hands," and he'd say grace. So that's his way. Okay. And so, it's just, I have I have this one customer, they're brothers who they are strict Baptists, and they very evangelical. So they want to bless me usually when I so they hug me, we hug each other, and they say a prayer. It's nice. In their way, they're really trying to, bless Vic in his travels and help him make sales. And they put things in the words.
In the name of Jesus.
In the name, yeah. Through Christ our Lord, amen. So, there's appreciation. We can appreciate others and their faiths and where they're at. And also, we should always, I'm making this simple point, it's a good thing that vegetarians are becoming more plentiful and that this mentality is spreading. But Srila Prabhupada points out they're also eating sin if you don't offer the food to Krishna. That's what he said.
But I do remember him saying, somewhere in the middle of the 70s or so, he said there was three things that indicated that our movement was purifying the atmosphere, and one of them was the heightened interest in vegetarianism. That was one of them, and I think yoga was the other, and I don't remember the other one. Might have been. But there was three things, and so in other words, he saw that as a good sign that people were becoming more. Because I remember being in college in the late '60s, and this is up in just outside of New York City, and so you expect, you have all different kind of cultures there, and you're more exposed to different walks of life and different ethnicities and forms of worship. But I remember, it was a big school, and it was a big cafeteria, and I remember I was sitting at the table with a few friends, and they said, "You see that guy over there? He's a vegetarian."
I was like one in a million.
Like, really? It's like he had 3 heads or something. So it was at that point, this was like in '67 or something. Now it's not such a. Now people are like, well, are you vegan? So he's a vegetarian.
Vegans are common now.
Yeah,
I said vegans are common now.
Yes.
very.
And the gluten-free is coming up too.
Save the meat.
And just as I'd like to show appreciate, I don't know how many of our vegetables today are being used in the Sunday Creek that we've grown ourselves, but the efforts that the devotees here make in growing as many vegetables as possible to feed the devotees is, just like show appreciation, and also, as usual, the cooks, Mother Maharani, and all the cooks who have always prepare such a nice feast for us. And these things, we should always show appreciation. It's one of the ways. It's like to show gratitude to others. This is a human being. It's like Srila Prabhupada was pointing out, basically, that's our responsibility. Use the word responsibility. In the human life, we have to be responsible. So, what does that mean? Part of that responsibility is to show gratitude. And, of course, ultimately, we have to all be gracious and grateful to what Krishna has given us. He's providing us with all these things. Whenever we feel that we're the doer, or we're the controller, or we're the enjoyer, if we do any of that without recognition of the Supreme Person, we're in trouble. So we have to always be grateful, and then also that doesn't. It starts with us being grateful to each other and showing that appreciation for those who tirelessly serve. So thank you, Maharani, and all the cooks. Are there any other comments, questions? Yes, Prabhu.
You touched on a subject that's a pet peeve of mine. You talked about producing agriculture, about producing food to feed. We have all this land out here, and unless we can accommodate Shudras, like migrant workers, to come out here and help us produce food that we can market, Krishna prasadam to, we're not going to be able to, we have to be able to engage everyone. If we want to grow and develop Varnashram Dharma, we have to have Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras. You know, we have Brahmins who have some administrative ability, but don't have the kind of Kshatriya leadership. I mean, we just, if there was one Kshatriya in the world would be filled with Kshatriyas. So I think we really need to pray for that. If we want Varnashram Dharma, we just all have to pray that in the future we'll get these dynamic, powerful leaders, you know, who will be the leaders of the Brahmins, and who will get all the Vaishyas in line, collect taxes, engage all the Shudras who are not going to be able to, not expected, they're asked to follow the regular principles, but they can't be expected to.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. What Varnashram Dharma means in Catholic, it's not just growing the garden. Thank you for pointing that out. It's just, I was talking to a godbrother a couple of weeks ago. He was pointing out to me that, he said, I can send you the lecture. Srila Prabhupada was describing that even when a cow dies, he said, we will use the skin. We will use the skin for making mridangas. He said, but then we sell the meat.
Really?
Yes. Srila Prabhupada actually said that. In other words, there will always be part of society that eats meat, unfortunately. So, I haven't, to my recollection, heard the lecture, but he was saying, yes, this is what Srila Prabhupada said. So, you know, as you're pointing out, society needs Kshatriyas, it needs Sudras, needs all these things to be complete. Prabhupada gave the analogy of the body. You can't just have a head, you can't just have arms or legs or a stomach. You need the whole body. Otherwise it's incomplete. And, you know, we've all read in Prabhupada's books about, we know about Kshatriyas, they train in the forest. Why? Because they kill animals. That's how they train for killing. They actually kill animals. You know, that's a Kshatriya. And, you know, for us to be broad-minded, to actually really understand what it means to establish Varnashram, it's a great task. We're scratching at the surface. We have a long way to go. But, you know, you know, it's amazing. I'm just remember one time Prabhupada was challenged by some reporter in regards to giving direction to the world or something. He says, yes, I will give. Prabhupada was not, if the society at large would have listened, Prabhupada would have instructed. You know, now it, so to speak, is falling on our shoulders to carry on in whatever small way we can, following his instructions and trying to give his instructions for society to others. But yeah, it's a big task. Any other comments, questions? Time for prasad. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, she came home.
Is that name? What's his name? Mister? He's a little short dog called Rick.
Yeah, little one came home with Missy. They were both at our
3 o'clock. Okay.
The boyfriend and girlfriend. They were both back together this year.
Oh, you see?
Yeah.